Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Another Adult Podcast. I'm your host, Howard Cam, and if you're a fellow Gen Xer, high school teacher, or just someone who's fed up with the everyday absurdities of life, you've come to the right place. Now, you might be wondering, what's this show all about? Well, it's pretty simple. You send in your questions, and I give you my unfiltered, off-the-cuff answers. So if you're ready for some real talk, a few laughs, or maybe in a moment of, yeah, I feel that, then stick around. Let's dive into the glorious world of being an annoyed adult. All right, our question is what's something that's forced onto kids that shouldn't be? Um, I think it's extracurricular activities. Yeah, that's the answer. That's a disease, right? That's a thing we're injecting into our kids like some kind of hyperactive, performance enhancing steroid cocktail designed by a tiger mom on Adderall. So, yeah, let's start there. Let's start right here. Your kid does not need to be in jujitsu and swim lessons and piano and coding boot camp and Mandarin language classes, competitive chess, all this stuff. They don't need all this stuff before they hit puberty. Just calm down, right? Your little Braden doesn't need a LinkedIn page at age 7. Just relax. And I don't know what happened, right? Maybe somewhere around the time like of Pinterest and Instagram merge into like some parenting anxiety black hole. But modern parenting turned into this race to see whose kid can be the most well-rounded while simultaneously burning out before middle school because we've created these Google Calendar childhoods where there's not a single free second between the hours of 3 p.m. and bedtime. Like we're raising these little walking stress balls with Lunchables and ADHD diagnoses, right? But people say, "Oh, but Howard, I want them to have opportunities." Yeah, you know what? That's cool. I wanted six-pack abs, but here we are. I don't, wanting something and shoving your kids into a minivan at like 4:15 p.m. every goddamn weekend are two different things. So let me let me ask you something real uncomfortable. Why are we so allergic to our kids being bored? Like, what the hell is so wrong with a child just being left alone with their thoughts and like some empty pots and pans to bang around? You know, that used to be called developing imagination. Now it's apparently like a lack of enriching stimulation that, you know, may delay their neural pathways. No, it's fucking not any of that. Chill out. So boredom is this birthplace for creativity. Like that is where we generate a lot of problem solving. It's it's the universe's way of saying figure your shit out. Because some of the best things I ever did as a kid started because I had nothing to do. Like I built forts. We burned ants with magnifying glasses. And before you say, "Oh my god, that's troll," shut up. I'm Gen X. That's what we did. Right? We invented these dumbass games with sticks and rocks because we're allowed to be bored. We just went outside and we played. You know what happens when a kid stares at a ceiling fan for like 15 minutes straight? Yeah, yeah, they get an idea. That's what. They're constantly being, you know, having wonderful ideas like, I don't want to do this. But no, what they're doing is they're being constantly ushered from like Kumon to kickboxing to clarinet. And they never, these little kids never have a moment to just sit still and just think. Like we invented mindfulness because we fucking forgot what it's like to be bored. And so we have to create something called mindfulness and then force kids to do mindfulness. That's fucking stupid. Just let the kids be bored. And I'm not saying like extracurriculars are evil. They're not. I get it. You want your kid to learn discipline. You want them to be social. You want them to develop a skill. You want to discover what they're passionate about. That's awesome. Great. But do one or two, right? But if your child, if their life looks like a corporate PowerPoint schedule with like time blocks and task managers, yeah, parent, you might be the problem. So let me tell you what happens to these hyper enriched kids, right? I see it every goddamn year in high school. And these kids who freak out when they get a B plus and they have their little anxiety panic attacks in the hallway because they got a 92% instead of a 97%. They don't, Jesus Christ, they don't know how to function unless someone is micromanaging their time or grading them. And then, like, the minute you tell them, oh, this assignment is open ended, be creative, use your imagination, they break down like a Timu lawn chair because they've never had to entertain themselves. They've never had to just sit down and be quiet and be forced to use their internal motivation. They're like externally programmed little achievement robots, right? Meet more. I have to win a scholarship. I got to get into Stanford. I got to make mommy proud. I can't fail. Good God, that's not childhood. That's like an unpaid internship, right? And meanwhile, you've got like the other end of the spectrum, right? These kids who have been allowed to just breathe and get bored and figure shit out. And they're not only happier, they're weird in like the best possible way. They're drawing comic books in the back of the class. They're building little apps for fun, starting garage bands. And go ask them what they want to do, and then they have answers for it. You ask like the schedule kid, the schedule jammed honor roll kid, the same thing, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know what looks good on my resume." Oh my god, don't think about that right now. Just like be a kid. And you know what builds like real resilience? You know, not the 5 activities and like a private coach and tutor. Like it's downtime, man. It's discomfort. It's being forced to just sit there and get bored and come up with something. It's learning that the world won't always hand you the next thing on your planner. You've got to go and make your own goddamn adventure. And I'm not going to say this out loud for like the people in the back, right? Parents, yeah, parents. Some of you are doing this shit for you. You're doing this shit for you, man. You're not doing it for your kids. You don't want them to look good. You want to be like the parent at the barbecue who says like, "Oh yeah, my little Caitlin's doing violin and robotics and she's in like the leadership camp for preteens." And meanwhile, your little Caitlin hasn't taken a proper shit in 4 days because she's constipated and she's stressed out because of you, parent. You. Just just let your kids be kids. Let them have this blank space. Let them be bored. Let them be whiny and dramatic about it. You're not failing as a parent if your kid has to invent a game with a tennis ball and a broomstick instead of playing, I don't know, organized lacrosse for the 5th year in a row. You're actually doing them a fucking favor. Like, do you remember as a kid, if you're my age, you just like went outside and like, what are we gonna do? I don't know. Let's just go hit this stick against that tree and have a good time. Like, if there's one thing, right? If there's one thing being forced on kids that shouldn't be, it's this neurotic, overstuffed, gifted and talented goddamn lifestyle that turns every free moment into a fucking performance metric. Let them breathe, let them chill out, and just let them fucking exist. All right? That's it. That's the rant. Go cancel a lesson. You're welcome. So our question is, what's a pseudoscience that people still commonly believe is real? Huh. Yeah. I think, oh, okay. Healing crystals and those magic magnetic bands that align your ions or whatever bullshit they're selling this month. Yeah, let's start with the crystals. So healing crystals, you've probably seen them, right? Maybe at a street fair, maybe on Etsy, maybe on the wrist of your coworker who drinks oat milk exclusively and refers to herself as an empath because she cried during a commercial one time. And these people claim their crystals like amethyst, rose quartz, citrine. They each have their own special vibrations and energies that can heal everything from anxiety to like their bad credit score. And there are guides. Oh my God, there's like entire books and entire YouTube channels dedicated to cleansing your aura with shiny rocks. Listen, look, I like rocks, okay? I do. You like geology? Cool. You want to talk about plate tectonics? Yeah, I'm in. But don't come at me with like this chunk of like crystal and tell me it's going to cure my arthritis. Let's break it down. There is zero, I repeat, zero scientific evidence that crystals do anything beyond just sitting there looking pretty. They don't vibrate in a magical way. They don't emit healing frequencies. They don't absorb negative energy unless you're going to throw it at someone's face. Oh my God. At the best, they would have a placebo effect. You think you feel better. because you believe you will. It's like the same reason people swear by essential oils or expensive wine, right? Belief is powerful. It doesn't mean it's not true. And before someone comes at me in the comments and says, like, oh, but my cousin held a piece of obsidian for a week and her eczema cleared up. Yeah, cool story, but like that's not science. That's just probably coincidence and really good moisturizer. Also, fun fact, most of these crystals are mined unethically from developing countries with horrendous labor conditions. But yeah, hey, right? Fuck those third world countries so you can feel better about yourself, right? Jesus. And like magnetic bands, like there's like slap bracelets for adults who failed physics. So this pseudoscientific fashion of these magic wristbands, like fridge magnets on elastic, you've seen them, right? They're like just little bands that go on your wrist and they have like a little sticker on them or whatever. They're sold everywhere from like golf pro shops to late night infomercials to that one uncle who has a garage full of like unopened pyramid scheme products. You know the type, right? They own like tons of crap everywhere and they believe about the microwaves are going to scramble your molecules. But these magnetic bands promise to, and I'm reading this quote from the website, align your ions, restore your body's natural energy field, and promote better circulation, pain relief, and overall wellness. Which is fascinating, considering they contain magnets weaker than what holds their past due bills in the fridge. Yeah, let's talk about the biology and the physics of it all then, right? Your body isn't some rogue Roomba floating through space needing a magnetic field reboot. The ions in your body, like sodium and potassium and calcium, already move around just fine, thanks to your nervous system, and not some like decorative metal hula hoop wrapped around your wrist. If magnets were powerful enough to influence your bodily ions, then every time you walk by a speaker or a refrigerator, you'd be instantly healed, right? Think about all the people that take an MRI and have all those magnetic waves shooting through you. They're not instantly healed. And the irony of it all, right? So, the irony of it all, like these magnets in these things aren't even strong enough to lift a paperclip, much less recalibrate your spinal chakras or whatever mystical nonsense the package claims. Like some of them literally just are stickers, decorative stickers made in foil to stick on a silicone bracelet, and they call them ion therapy. Like I've seen more convincing tech on Timu, but people still believe it. Well, and why do they still fall for it? So here's a sad, annoying truth. People believe in these things because they're desperate for control in a chaotic world. And honestly, I get it, right? The healthcare system's confusing. Therapy is expensive. Eating healthy is hard. And when someone says, here, hold this shiny rock, it'll help your anxiety, it's comforting, right? It's simple. No waiting rooms, no deductibles, no side effects, just you and a chunk of shiny rock and the placebo powered belief that everything will be okay. Oh my God. You know what? Let's not ignore the role of influencers. Oh, yeah. Becky, with her 42,000 followers on Instagram, who took a quote, Reiki master course via YouTube and now sells bundles of sage and lava beads out of her garage. And she's telling people that her migraines are caused by blocked throat chakras and like the planets are in the wrong alignment. Now, the fact that you've been drinking 4 Red Bulls a day and never going outside and exercising. But these influencers and the wellness industry as a whole make billions off this stuff. Yeah, you heard me right. Billions of dollars. Why? Because hope sells. Hope and glitter and like vague language like toxins and energy flow. No one ever explains what the toxins are or where they're going. Like, do I just fart them out when I sleep? Isn't that what your liver is for? And don't even get me started on like the celebrities, right? Every time a Hollywood actor opens their mouth about energy fields or quantum healing, Neil deGrasse Tyson dies a little inside. A physicist somewhere loses the will to live. Jesus. So here's the bottom line. If crystals make you feel good, great. If you're wearing a magnetic bracelet that helps your wrist pain because you believe it does, cool. I'm not here to rob you of your placebo powered happiness. Just, try not to be so delusional about it. But don't skip actual medical treatment either. Don't spend hundreds of dollars on things that have no peer reviewed evidence. And for the love of science, don't go around telling people you're cleansing their aura with a stick of incense and a rock you bought off Etsy. Look, here's the bottom line. Crystals are rocks, magnets are magnets. Your body doesn't need spiritual Wi-Fi. It just needs sleep, good food, exercise, and probably a little bit of therapy. Okay, so I'm going to read you a description of our next question because it's a long question. So we've got a woman here. She's 32 years old and she's been with her boyfriend, and he's 30 years old, and they've been together for 8 years. Uh, and then they're planning to get engaged, to get married. They want to do the ring shopping and all that. The whole thing. But here's the problem. Here's the big flashing red neon sign. This guy, who she otherwise loves and praises as kind, generous, morally sound, yada yada, turns into a complete fucking disaster when he drinks. Not like, oops, I told your mom I love her a little too much kind of drunk. No, no, I'm talking pissing on the bedroom floor drunk, disappearing into the night for hours, falling into bushes, scraping himself up, full blown circus act levels of drunk. And then she's over here trying to figure out how to bring this up gently because every time she tries, uh, you know, she just explodes. Okay, first, what the hell? Look, I get it, right? Love is complicated and people are complicated. But this whole like he's so sweet except for when he urinates in places humans shouldn't dynamic is a red flag, man. It's a red flag. You are dating a guy that pisses on the ground, right? And I don't think you're overreacting. You're not. And you're not. But you're not. You're not being controlling. You're not being dramatic. You're just being sane. You're like a sane adult and who's exhausted from having this nonsense, and you have to be the designated driver, like the cleanup crew and the emotional support human, and apparently now his janitor when your grown ass boyfriend can't control his drinking. So let's start with this. If you've been with someone for 8 years and you still can't have a serious conversation with them about blowing up, then we've already got a problem that's way beyond alcohol because communication, right? That's marriage 101. That's like day one shit. If you're walking around on your own, in your house swallowing your anger because you don't feel safe enough to say, "Hey, I'm really upset about your urinating in the bathroom on the floor." You know, you're not in love anymore. You're in a weird different territory. And let's not pretend like this is a little quirk, right? Let's not pretend like, "Oh, he snores." No, no. This is not he forgets to take out the chicken out of the freezer. This is like an absolutely unhinged adult baby behavior. Like this dude is not ready for a wedding. He needs therapy and a wellness check, right? And here's the kicker. You're planning to marry him? Seriously? You want to lock it down legally? You want to tie your finances together and probably make little tiny people together that you're now both going to be responsible for? Ask yourself this. Do you trust this man to be a parent someday? Like, if he can't even be trusted not to use your floor as a toilet when he's tipsy, like, are you going to have to explain to your toddler why daddy's passed out in the bushes again? Because you're not dealing with a drinking problem. You're dealing with an accountability problem. Because let me tell you, people who get blackout drunk do dangerous or gross ass shit, and then they act like it's no big deal. And they're telling you very clearly where their priorities lie. Like if he's had these strong morals and values, like you say, like you keep mentioning, then wouldn't one of those values be don't piss on the floor and terrify everybody? Right? But there's like a giant difference between getting a little tipsy and a little drunk and then like disappearing into the void blackout fucking drunk. And he keeps doing that part. That's the problem. He just gets blackout drunk all the time. And you want to marry that? Jesus Christ. Like, okay, sure, fine. Once, twice, in your 20s, I guess. I guess, right? This seems like a pattern for him. And this sounds like a very consistent behavior, like repeat offense territory. So if you've told him before that this bothers you, and I guarantee you have, because no one just silently watches their partner stumble into a wall and think, oh yeah, there's my future husband. No, no, no. Then you're not just talking about the drinking. You're talking about respect for you or the lack thereof, right? He doesn't have respect for you at all. And let's be real. Like, if this man was writing in about his girlfriend doing this shit, like, we'd all be screaming, run for the rooftops, right? Eh, You, oh, Jesus Christ, don't marry him. You need to break up immediately. That's an immediate thought. Like, where are your boundaries in this? Where is it? Where are you? Right? Don't be gentle with it. So here's what you should do. Are you ready? Here you go. Are you listening? So stop planning your wedding and start planning for a conversation with yourself alone, away from everybody else. Like, ask yourself straight up, can you live like this? Like, truly, can you live like this? Do you want to have him blackout drunk at your wedding? Right? If the answer is no, and then based on your letter, your message, then the answer is resoundingly hell no, right? You already know what you need to do, and you're just scared to say it out loud. Look, I get it. That's fair. Breaking up is hard. You've been there together for 8 years, but and I understand that you love him and you're planning a life together, but you're a young person. You deserve peace. You don't deserve to walk around your own house worried that your boyfriend is gonna pee all over the place and fall down, and God forbid you have a baby in the house, right? You don't deserve to have to manage someone else's behavior like you're their parole officer or their AA counselor. You deserve peace and quiet. You deserve not to be traumatized by this moron in your life. So I don't think he's gonna get serious and quit his drinking. I don't think that's possible. He's probably a full-blown alcoholic at this point because he really likes the way it feels, and he's just not giving up his youth at this point. He doesn't consider you. You're not his factor in his life for making decisions. I'll tell you that right now. That's not you. So you know what you have an impending breakup, and that's what you need to do. And that, my friends, is all the annoyed adulting we have time for today. I hope my unfiltered thoughts gave you a laugh, a nod of agreement, or at least made you feel a little less alone in your daily annoyances. Remember, if you've got a burning question, a perplexing situation, or just something that you really want to grind your gears about, send them my way. You can find details on how to submit your questions in the show notes. And don't forget, you can find the Annoyed Adult podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Till next time, stay annoyed, stay awesome, and I'll see you later. Aloha.